And I know that you said it 3 weeks ago in an interview that you believe the president has a plan to replace Obamacare. Is that what you're getting at here? Because this is certainly something that the president and Republicans tried to do in his first term and didn't succeed. Are you going to restart that?
I actually did not say I was going to replace Obamacare. What I said was there are many ideas out there. Some of them could replace Obamacare. Many of them will not. There's tactics that we're discussing right now.
The queen of lying is back on her CNN show this Sunday morning. But little did she know that Dr. Oz here from the Trump administration is much more than just a TV celebrity. And for some reason, she thinks she knows more about the whole healthcare system than this guy who's working on it 24/7. It's Sean Daniel here, back with the Sunday Show Marathon. I apologize to you guys. I did not do one last week as I was moving around, moving to a brand new country, brand new hemisphere actually. And now that I'm getting settled in New Zealand, let's go.
Welcome back to State of the Union. Republicans successfully ended the shutdown. Now comes a really hard part, figuring out what to do about health care costs when enhanced Obamacare subsidies expire on December 31st. Here with me now is one of the president's top medical advisors, the administrator for the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, Dr. Mehmet Oz. Thank you so much for being here. Appreciate it. The president said he will be willing to talk about these subsidies once the shutdown is over. The shutdown is over. So is he willing to extend the subsidies at all?
I think the president's willing to look at all options, but we have some major flaws with the way these COVID-era subsidies were added. And just so everyone's on the same page in this issue, our goal is to get people covered. Especially we want people covered who are trying to work. They're trying to climb their way up financially as they get jobs and evolve. How do you do it wisely? So the original Obamacare had fundamental flaws in it. For example, when you make more than 4 times poverty, there was not an ability to get continued enhanced subsidies. But there are other issues that were also present that the Democrats tried in early COVID to rectify by throwing money at it. The problem with the approach that was taken, and if it was a great approach, I actually think they would have made those changes permanent. The fact that they're designed to expire now is reflective of the fact that the current system is not the system that anyone really thought would work long term. It creates incentives for fraud. And I'll just give you one example because I keep reading about this in different contexts, but you can understand it in a very straightforward way. Health insurance is different from other kinds of insurance. You don't want to use your fire insurance because you don't want your house burning down. Health insurance you tend to use every year. In fact, on average, 80% of people use their health insurance during the day. If you're watching right now, think about whether you filled a prescription, went to a doctor's office, you use your insurance. So let's say 20% of the time you don't use your insurance. That was also the number for the Obamacare exchanges. That number has now doubled. Doubled. We have last year 24 million people on the exchanges. 11 million people never filed a claim.
So I hear you talking about how complicated it is and there is potential for fraud. But the reality is time's ticking. And there are people who are really going to suffer because the system is the way it is, unless these are at least extended temporarily while you try to figure out a reform. Will that happen? Will you encourage the president to do that?
There are ways for us to continue to cover Americans without allowing the widespread fraud. And I don't want to underplay this. 4.4 million people right now, we believe, are getting full insurance coverage with the Obamacare. Many of them don't know they have that coverage. They're duly enrolled both in Medicaid and the ACA.
Can you fix that? It's the middle of November. Can you fix that in the next 5 weeks?
Well, we can definitely put in incentives to remove that as a possibility. I'll give you a good example. Get people to pay $5. $5. Is that too much to pay a month? Paying $5 a month means at least you have to opt into the program. You can't get falsely put on a program by some broker without you knowing about it.
So are there conversations about doing things like you just said with the Republicans in Congress, maybe even with Democrats, in order to get these subsidies at least extended in the short term?
There are discussions around extending the subsidies if we deal with the fraud, waste, and abuse that right now is paralyzed in the system. There are ways of using our money wisely by putting it in the pockets of Americans. There are things we actually put into the One Big Beautiful Bill, like these CSRs, which are these cost-saving reduction tools that make insurance more efficient, that would have saved us a lot of money that Democrats took out. So there are already ideas we've put out there. We would have saved 10% on premiums if we'd allowed these CSRs to be enacted in the One Big Beautiful Bill. By not putting them in there, we're forcing people to pay more. Dana, the big question is this: how do we insure people but make it sustainable? I'm passionate about this. I'm a heart surgeon. I want people having coverage when they come to see me for life-saving heart surgery, or else I'm fearful they won't get that care. But how do we do it in a way that makes the program sustainable for decades to come, so we don't fight this battle every single year?
Yeah.
You could tell Dr. Oz really cares about how they put this system in place because of how it impacts people. He also knows, and he's not necessarily saying to Dana, but he kind of is, that if you put this temporary fix that Dana keeps saying, oh, just keep extending these credits. Let's just extend them. That's the way of DC to keep exactly the status quo going. Like when you have a new bill, you want to propose some drastic measure, you know what they slap on that bill or that new measure? Oh, well, we need to do a peer review. We need to do a scientific study. And then we need to study that study and the findings of that study to decide what's the actual best case of action moving forward. And then we need to do a financial study on can we afford this based on the budgets. They put all these markers in place to keep delaying new changes to be made so that the status quo stays the same. And I believe, and I think Dr. Oz believes as well, if you just keep extending these ACA credits, you keep extending these things that the Democrats have put in place, and you don't find a fix for it, they'll just keep finding a reason to extending these things forever.
Just to be clear, as again, this isn't a hypothetical in the short term. This is why I'm so focused on it, because the deadline is where it is. I want to play something from Donna and Chris Vetters.
Here we go. Here comes the sob story from some random family about how they're going to be impacted. Now they're possibly going to die if they don't get... Here we go.
Again, this isn't a hypothetical in the short term. This is why I'm so focused on it, because the deadline is where it is. I want to play something from Donna and Chris Vetters. They have monthly health care payments that are expected to skyrocket from $401 a month to $2,000 a month. Listen to what they said.
It's just impossible. There's no way we're going to have to give up our health care.
The increase in the health premiums would be half of my income. It's literally rolling the dice on whether we live or die at this point.
So again, what can the president and Congress do right now to help people like the Vetters?
This is the concern I've had from the moment I took my oath to run CMS. We have, under Obamacare, a system that had a clip at 400% of the poverty level. That couple, I can almost guarantee you, is making over $100,000 a year. At some point, the Obamacare system just stopped paying for your insurance. They assumed you would just pay for it yourself. The extended subsidies covered them temporarily. It was designed only during COVID, during a crisis. But we still don't have a marketplace in America to help couples like that. We want to try to craft that. There are ideas that would allow us to do that. For example, we could give them the money instead of giving it to the insurance companies.
So that's a conversation that has been happening about giving. The president has said there are billions of dollars that the government could send directly to people to purchase their own much better health care. How would that even work?
Well, we don't have market forces at play right now. Think about, what is it called? It's called the Obamacare Exchange. It's a marketplace. What does marketplace mean? People actually have a role in a marketplace. They make decisions about what they value. It was originally designed to be 50% truly people from the private sector, like that couple, coming in, and then 50% government subsidized folks who couldn't afford their insurance. We have priced the systems now so heavily with government subsidies that they crowds out the private sector.
How would a check, getting a check in the mail, actually work?
If you had a check in the mail, you could buy the insurance you thought was best for you.
Right, but how would the government actually make that happen?
Oh, we could use health savings accounts. There are different tactics, flexible savings accounts. There are tools that exist right now that we could use. The question is that the best way for us to use taxpayer dollars? And this is critical. Is it sustainable? If we truly create a marketplace, can people use that money to wisely use their power to buy insurance that helps them?
What I'm hearing you saying are some fixes. And I know that you said it 3 weeks ago in an interview that you believe the president has a plan to replace Obamacare. Is that what you're getting at here? Because this is certainly something that the president and Republicans tried to do in his first term and didn't succeed. Are you going to restart that?
I actually did not say I was going to replace Obamacare. What I said was there are many ideas out there. Some of them could replace Obamacare. Many of them will not. There's tactics that we're discussing right now. The shutdown just ended. We were held hostage, as you know, unable to even discuss this. We didn't have actuaries in the offices. We didn't have insurance experts. All those folks are back working full speed, and we are giving the president lots of options. We have reinsurance as an option, which is traditionally used to make insurance more affordable. We have tactics that would allow Americans to play a different role than they historically have played in this marketplace. But let me give you one big message because it's critical. At the same time we figure out how to pay for this program, we've got to figure out how to drop the cost of the program. That's why things like the most favored nation drug pricing are so critical. If we don't take proactive stances, as the president has done, to push down the prices of health care, no matter how much money you throw at these systems, it's never going to be enough.
We're out of time, but if somebody is watching now worried that they are not going to be able to afford insurance at the end of the year, are you making a promise that the president and Congress will make sure that they can?
I'm promising the president is laser focused on this. It's the main thing I talk with him about. Congress as well is all over this. We have got to find solutions that don't just work at the end of this year, but work for years to come. And I do want to come back to this theme. We have ideas that will also drop the actual cost of care by putting pressure, downward pressure on what we're paying for medications. And that's probably a very good example. If you have insurance coverage, but your medications are also better priced, the insurance you buy is enough to buy those meds, you're in pretty good shape.
Dr. Oz, thank you so much for being here. Appreciate it.
It sounds like Dr. Oz and the Trump administration want to try to get rid of this Obamacare system. And I didn't know about all of the government subsidies that have basically flooded this Obamacare, Medicare setup, this whole marketplace and system, which then allows these insurance companies to just throw the premiums and prices through the roof. Because if there's mandates in place that people have to get insurance like we had to do before with Obamacare, or there's all this government money going into the system, they can just be like, well, we're getting all this government money basically at whatever price we put. We're just going to keep cranking it up. Now, I know I'm not an expert on this. A lot of you guys have educated me on this in the comments, but it's interesting that he really doesn't want to continue this Obamacare system, but he's not willing to say, let's replace Obamacare. It is wise how he's pointing out that these Obamacare credits, ACA credits, they were supposed to be a temporary thing under COVID. And now they basically need to be wiped out. There needs to be something else put in place. But of course, they're low prices. There's tons of government money going into this whole thing. They don't want any of that wiped out. The insurance companies definitely don't, because a lot of people probably won't pay their big premiums, like that couple that Dana Bash had to show with her sympathy story. A lot of people are not going to pay their premiums if it's going to 5x in price. They said $400, that couple said, under the Obama credits, to now $2,000. So the insurance companies are just going to miss out on money. So I'm sure the insurance companies aren't going to be happy about this. That's probably why they want at least the ACA credits to continue, because imagine how many people are not going to pay their premiums and just stop because it's gotten too expensive. But keep in mind, as whatever you guys watch about this whole Medicare field, but pay attention to what the Democrats and CNN people will say, because they want to keep the status quo the status quo. You cannot put a new change in place and making the standards more strict with the Medicaid that people are getting. No. We're going to keep extending. Just like when we had income tax start. It was supposed to be a temporary thing for the war. And then just keep going. And now it's a stable in American society. Same thing can happen with these ACA credits and different Obama administration regulations and rulings. It's Sean Daniel here. Thank you so much for watching. If you guys want to keep the Sunday show marathon going and see our main man Kevin Hassett go after another liberal reporter, check out this video right here or wherever it is on the screen, and I'll see you there.